Today on Strong Like a Girl, we welcome someone who embodies strength in every chapter of her life. International athlete, accomplished lawyer, and passionate community activist, Susanne Dandenault. I first met Suzanne through another strong girl, Lisa Tinley, over a decade ago, and I've liked her ever since. Born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, Suzanne completed her undergraduate degrees at the University of Washington in Seattle on an athletic scholarship for track and field before returning home to earn her law degree at the University of Manitoba. She is an accomplished national team weightlifter representing Canada from 1998 to 2005. She competed in 5 World Championships, 2 Pan American Games, a Commonwealth Games, and served as an alternate for the 2004 Summer Olympics. She is a 9-time national champion and still holds multiple Canadian records. After retiring from competition, she returned to legal world, building an impressive career as a lawyer, and is now with Pitt-Lado Law. Her leadership extends far beyond the courtroom. In 2019, she was inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, and in 2023, she became the first woman to serve as the chair of the board of directors of Sport Manitoba. Strong in sport, strong in leadership, strong in community. Welcome to the Strong Like a Girl podcast, Suzanne.
Thank you. Always a treat to be talking with you, Tanya.
How are you today?
I am enjoying every minute and honored to share space with you today.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this conversation. So we do have a bit of a history together through some other friends and trips and stuff we've taken, but I don't know that I have had the kind of conversation I want to have today with you. So you've had multiple careers, right? So from elite athlete to corporate and Indigenous lawyer. What's the through line for you? Like what core values or motivations kind of connect those pathways for you?
You know what? I think high performance athletes are overachievers, or perhaps innately an overachiever to get to be successful in the areas that you put your mind to. So I feel like I need to do a good job in everything I do. And I do live life with purpose. It makes it hard to get up, to work hard if you don't have that purpose. But purpose changes. And I embrace change, as well as understanding that my purpose may change. And it does, because you change over your lifetime, from being an athlete without a husband or kids, to being a parent and a spouse, to having a career, to representing people's beliefs and rights. So it's understanding where you fit in all of that, and having the clarity of where you're not a master of what you do, and always leaning on others, because no one can be an island to be successful. So it's for me about having purpose and about working hard. I think I got that from my parents. They were hard workers and instilled a strong work ethic. And as a weightlifter, it's all about work. It isn't pretty. It was hard work every day. I used to, make the analogy that it was like I was moving furniture all the time, only to be able to be on a platform to show how well I could move furniture. So I am not shy to hard work, and the pride I get in doing a good job, acknowledged or not, is what my own reward is. So it's motivation from within. Not sure where that comes from, but
I would say probably nature and nurture a little bit, right? I would think my personal opinion is like high performance athletes are born, because if you watch kids, you'll see ones that have that kind of drive versus the other ones, right? Because it does take an exorbitant amount of dedication and self-belief to compete at any level, really. But so why weightlifting? And how did you ever get into that sport?
Well, it started in track and field, to be honest, and I'm not a small person. So as a young person in, I'm going to say junior high, the gym teacher came to me and said, "Hey, come throw the shot put." And I was like, "No, thank you. That doesn't sound like fun." And he was like, "You get the day off school." And I was like, "Fine, I'll do it." And lo and behold, I could throw that sucker.
Yeah.
And, I went to the next event, and there used to be a track meet at Grant Park High School called the
Yep.
Rodney Dangerfield Classic. And I
Oh
don't quite
my.
know how it came to be, but I set a record, and it was noticed by someone. And next thing you know, I was introduced to Bruce Perney, and he is a Canadian Olympian, passed away last year. But and it started there. So high performance sport started there, and over time, we had a throwing group that included a woman named Teresa Brick, who was definitely the epitome of strong like a girl. And it was Teresa who was doing both track and field and weightlifting at quite a high level, like significantly um, uh, um, better than I, for sure. And it was Teresa that convinced me to come out to weightlifting because it would help my track and field career. However, weightlifting sounded like a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it did not seem like something else I would want to do, but she is extremely convincing. And sure enough, I end up in the gym with Teresa, and then it just grew from there. And it wasn't immediate. Like, I did start weightlifting fairly young. I think I competed once at the age of 16. I had
Oh
started
wow.
track and field at 14. But then I ended up going away to school to Washington and things like that. So the weightlifting part of that career didn't really take off until I came back kind of during law school. And Teresa was still adamant that I come out and continue training and weightlifting to boost my athletic career in track and field. And then it just grew. And the opportunities to be on the national team seemed a bit more positive or available in weightlifting. And I really did want to go to the Olympics. And it seemed that would not happen in track and field. And so the transition to weightlifting seemed natural as a better opportunity to make it to that next level. And, I spent 9 years on the national team and was close to making the Olympics, and not disappointed because I knew I did the best that I could. I reached my peak, my potential. I was the first woman in Canada to clean and jerk 300 pounds, and I can say that for the rest of my life. It may not have been enough to make the Olympics, but Canada only sent one woman to the Olympics the 2 years I was around to do that, because women were only permitted to weightlift at the Olympics starting in 2000. So, we were a disadvantaged gender for all the years before that.
Right.
But so that's how weightlifting came to be.
And so it became an Olympic sport in 2000, which would have been the Sydney Olympics, right? It would have been in Australia. And you were the alternate for 2004, which was Athens.
Right.
And then Canada only sent one. Interesting. How many, were there a lot of women weightlifters at the time? Or were there other countries that had more dominant populations of women weightlifting and things like that?
That is exactly it. It's not that Canada chose to only send one woman. In fact, they only sent one man as well. You had to earn spots as a country, and we were not particularly strong. Canada, for the most part, operates a clean program. And as a result, the results are not as high as some of the other countries. So you end up only having one spot for Canada and men and women. But we had a strong group. If you looked back on it now, I think a number of us would have made the Olympic team. I think Teresa and I would have both been on the Olympic team if things were how they are now. But it was just a bit different then in how you qualified. So we qualified as a team to get one person to the Olympics, but that was to set up the future for weightlifting in Canada to hopefully have more people participate at the Olympics. So it's an individual sport, but not completely.
Yeah. So you really, you were part of the group of women that paved the way for other women to be able to enter that sport and compete at that level. Yeah.
And, I think Teresa Brick is really the pioneer, one of the pioneers in Canada. Manitoba was very strong in women's weightlifting. There was a period of time there, we probably had 4 or 5 women on different types of national teams in weightlifting. So, and we're all, either heavyweights or super heavyweights. So, whether we're throwing bales of hay around to get strong, who knows what it is here in Manitoba. But I'd like to think that it was great coaching that we had, and facilities to train in, and then just a collegial group of folks training to be better. And it was successful for several years.
Were there any noticeable stigmas against female weightlifters, like when you were coming up through the program?
Well, I don't know about stigmas, but there was, it was, and I will suggest still is, a male-dominated, old-fashioned type of sport. You could talk to some of the pioneer women in weightlifting to tell you how weightlifting competitions started for women internationally. In fact, I believe there was a swimsuit contest first, or a swimsuit parade, let's call it, before the actual weightlifting competition, only for women. Men were not parading on the platform in a bikini bottom. So, and there was gender testing for women back in the day, and that is making, it seems to be a comeback for a number of different reasons, that we won't probably get into today. But so, I was gender tested twice because apparently once wasn't enough, but it was in two different sports. So there were certainly a number of unique circumstances when weightlifting became international for women, but it is better. There are fewer swimsuit contests now.
They didn't gender test men, I'm assuming.
They did not. No, but if you think about it, like a woman would not go compete in a man's competition because biologically we're not stronger. So we would not have an advantage, but you could have smaller, effeminate men who could pose as a woman and clean up the medals, right? So it was actually protection against the women, or for the women, but
for the women. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it, actually. I just always kind of marvel at the extra rules and things that we have to go through.
Proof.
That. Proof, yeah. Were there any other gender issues you faced, like things like access to change rooms or like just having privacy or things like that? Because it is it was a male sport before they allowed women to compete in it. So, I mean, at the Olympic level and when you went to a games, they would have known you were coming and set up for that. But prior to that, and like maybe different national conferences or things like that.
Certainly not here in Canada. Internationally, I don't recall any real situations of discomfort where I was, it would be less about gender, but just more about access to facilities generally. From a, maybe a third world country we were competing in. So I'd say it was less about gender and just about access to facilities generally. I didn't really get that. I didn't feel that there was a discrimination against women as I was competing. I feel like some of that had worked its way out through like the Teresa Brick's beginning of her career, like I've mentioned. So less so. I think it was decent when I was going through.
What's the most weight you've ever lifted?
Well, there's a number of different lifts you can do, but like I said, in the clean and jerk, 300 pounds was my, from a competitive lift. I did. So that's 136.5 kilograms. I deadlifted 400 pounds. I think I squatted over 400 pounds. But we didn't those are all lifts that make you better at the two lifts you really need to do, right? Because we competitively, you just did the snatch and the clean and jerk, but everything else we did was to supplement and build that. So, it was, I think maybe my proudest lifting accomplishment outside of my competitive lifts would have been, doing 160 kilos in the back squat for 4 sets of 6. It's those kinds of numbers that are meaningless to most people, but in the weightlifting world, some may be impressed, although not so much anymore because that would have been years ago. But so there's numbers like that. We never did bench. I might have bench pressed 200 pounds, which, I mean, it wasn't a major lift that we did, so it wasn't something we did a lot of. But for the most part, people are like, oh, wow.
So so I like to lift weights as well. I'm a little bit absent from it, but what did it feel like when you started to acquire strength like that? When you started to were you like ripping the lids off bottles for everybody and stuff like that? You know what I mean? It must have, what did it do for you internally to be able to know that you had that kind of strength?
It was wonderful, and it still is. Of course, I've been retired for 20 years this month. But I can guess that I am still far stronger than the average 55-year-old woman in Canada. So it's my husband and I joke that I'm like, honey, I'll get it. You leave it. I'll pick it up, things like that. But you know what? I could always pick something up. Like it was, it never crossed my mind that I would get somebody else to do it. In fact,
Right.
I'd be like, no, like I got this, like fiercely independent and competitive, right? Ultimately very competitive. So, but I will tell you little things that were odd when you're very strong. Curling. I sucked at curling because I automatically assumed in throwing the rock that I would blow it through the house. So I would underthrow, and I never even made the hog line. Like it was horrible.
Really?
It was embarrassing because people have, you're a high performance athlete. You must be good at everything. But
Right.
no. So those are some of the maybe negative impacts of being a strength athlete, was knowing you're strong and therefore toning it down on a few things.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. So why did you retire 20 years ago? Like, what was the kind of turning point for you that you went, you know what, I'm gonna focus on my
hang it
career
up.
and getting a family or whatever that is?
So I came to weightlifting later. It's a younger person's sport, to be honest. Most of my teammates were quite a bit younger than I. When I made my first national team, I was 28.
Oh, wow.
Which is old
Yeah.
for weightlifting. Lots of people
Yep.
are done by then, to be honest. But it was my beginning of it. And I'd heard sayings that you only hit your strength peak 8 years into your strength career. And it was bang on. Like it really was so in 2005, I hadn't made the Olympics in 2004, and I feel that I'd hit it. I'd gotten as high as I could go, either from my body's perspective or, just, it had been a long time. I got into high performance sport really starting at the age of 14, and now I'm 35, and it's starting to be more work. And we had our final event in December, which was the last event to qualify for karting, which was that federal funding program from the government of Canada. And I did not compete well. It was unlikely that I was going to get karting. And I just felt that it was really the time to let go and let the next generation come up through the system and earn their spot. And transition for me was good. I know lots of athletes struggle with transition, and I was ready. I was ready to move on. I was ready. I had started articling in the fall of that year. So I had started that career in law. So it was just time to move on.
So when athletes retire, lots of them have different issues with, like, they face grief, and they really pull away from sport and other kinds of things that help them stay healthy. And you didn't experience any of those things? No.
I'm a unicorn. No, I'm not. I did have, like I said, I was ready to go. I was ready to be done. I had already started articling, doing my first year as a lawyer. So that was already in place. And I had a partner who, in fact, we were married by this time. So, obviously kids were a consideration. And I actually started triathlon training. So I had a full plate and I had other goals. I'm super goal oriented. Like athletes are always hunting for the next achievement, right? So no, I didn't have it. I think because I was mentally ready to move on. I was not forced out. It was my choice. It was on my terms. I think that makes transition easier, so.
For sure. In anything, probably, right?
Absolutely.
Do you still weightlift?
Not like that. There were times where I thought about getting back into it, but it's a lot of work. I like watching it. I like other forms of physical activity, but not necessarily Olympic style weightlifting. So I'm not. My husband is still involved on the officiating side. Tried to get my kids into it. Not very excited about that either. A lot of work. And so involved on the periphery, but not physically weightlifting anymore, but working out.
What was your typical day of training like? What that looked like?
So I was a full-time employee while training because I could not afford not to be, because funding in Canada is abysmal. So I did work in sport. So they were very understanding of my schedule, but I was training 7 times a week. I was weightlifting 7 times a week. 2 of those days would be a session before work and then a session after work. And then Tuesday, Friday, Saturday were single sessions. And Thursdays and Sundays were off or active rest. And then working in between. So it wasn't like I always tried to get 8 hours of sleep. I went for massage. I did, my husband, we still joke about this. I would do ice baths, but it was in a day where they didn't have these fancy things you can buy on Amazon now to make your own nice little pool. So I lived in an apartment and I had a balcony and I had a Rubbermaid bin that I would fill with water and fill with ice. And that was my ice bath that I would do. And, there weren't a lot of services available, and ice baths and massage and lots of sleep were really my recovery tools at the time. So that was a day.
Any sustaining injuries from your training time?
Yes. Yeah, I have a bit of a back issue, but knock on wood, it hasn't reared its ugly head. I do,
Nice.
I'm bionic. I have 2 hip replacements, but they have also said that I'm predisposed to that through genetics, and I just sped up the process, but it hasn't slowed me down. It's a day surgery now for Pete's sake. So
it's amazing.
Nothing major. I don't know. Aches and pains. Like, I'm 55. I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Yeah.
After graduating from law school in 1996, you took 9 years off before you started your legal career, which I'm assuming is another passion for you. So what was that like to leave it for so long and then re-enter it?
Definitely scary, because you don't know if anyone will be interested in hiring you after 9 years off. It was to pursue an athletic career.
Yeah.
But it, and when I went to kind of join the group of students that were looking for jobs in 2005, I was with a bunch of people 10 years younger than me doing the same thing. And, certainly not as many interested folks in somebody in my situation. That said, so much of what you learn is on the job, not, school is theory, right?
Yep.
And I did have an individual who saw what he saw my 9 years off of 9 years of living life and maturity and having experience that would benefit him and the practice we were in. So I did get hired the year I started looking for a job. I didn't have to wait any longer and stayed there for a number of years. And I've moved around a wee bit over time, but somebody took a risk on me, and whether they knew an athlete would give it 125% to make the coach happy. I don't know if he knew that, but I think anybody who hires an athlete will rarely be disappointed in the work product.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that's I really love it when people take chances on other people. Particularly the folks that maybe other people have looked over and things like that. And there's just that one person who sees something and goes, hang on a second. Yeah, I'm going to give you a shot. And it just kind of opens up doors, right? And I hope throughout my lifetime and my career, I can be that person for some people at some point too,
Yeah. Don't forget, right? Yeah.
So you spent several years with Arctic Cooperatives, Limited as their general counsel, and you oversaw legal issues affecting co-ops in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and parts of Saskatchewan. So how did you balance the legal complexities with the human and community impacts in those northern communities? Because they're quite different than the communities we have down here, right?
Quite. They loved my time in the north, and it was a perk of the job to travel to these remote communities that are so culturally different, yet within the same border as you and I. So it was a treat. I love learning. I suffer from ADHD, or I benefit from ADHD, however you want to look at it. And something new for me every day is what makes my day bright and happy. So going up to a northern community, I would sit in the co-op store and talk to people and do things. And and you meet the people there, and you talk to the kids, and you see life in a different way that is knowledge for you, not only as a Canadian, but as a Canadian living in the South with all of the privileges of being in a big city with a job and a roof over my head. It was humbling, for sure, but I learned so much, and being in those communities made me a better lawyer for those individuals or co-ops that I was representing in what we did. So I think the travel up there is necessary to really be able to understand your client in dealing with that. I think it's a different world, and we all owe it to each other and ourselves to visit the North, because it's wonderful.
Great answer. I agree with you. Yeah, it's. I had the pleasure of living in Whitehorse for one winter. I don't know if I'd use the word pleasure, but it was cold. But it's. I mean, it's just a wonderful part of our world, and it is a different life in so many ways, right? And yeah, that's lovely, actually. So you're with Pitt Blado Law now, and you focus on what kind of law now?
So I do work in our Aboriginal law group. So
you do? Good.
So Aboriginal law is working with Indigenous clients. Indigenous law is the traditional law of the Indigenous people. So I can't practice that because while I'm Métis, I did not grow up on treaty land or reserve land. So I'm not practicing Indigenous law, but I am part of the Aboriginal law group. So I do. The bulk of my practice is still corporate commercial, which is what it has been, but with a focus on Indigenous clients. So, which really is what I did at Arctic Co-ops, to be honest. But now I do it in private practice. So I have a range of clients, but corporate commercial, a lot of real estate development. I do a little bit of litigation for some of my, northern clients. And like I said, I like everything. I in a law firm, you don't dabble. You do need to be an expert in the areas. But, having been in-house for like 95% of my career or more, you are a dabbler in-house. So I'm now trying to focus to areas that are, of most need to my clients. So definitely more corporate commercial real estate, corporate governance for sure.
I did not know that difference between Indigenous and Aboriginal. So thank you for that. I like learning those kinds of things. Right?
I think it's important especially if you're in the industry, but it's helped to help other people understand as well.
Yeah, for sure. In 2023, you became the first woman to chair the board of Sport Manitoba. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you think also understanding you've been a high caliber athlete and competed internationally and things like that, but what unique perspective or priority do you hope you bring to the governance in sport in our province?
Well, I think it's not solely about being a woman, but I do think it's paired with being an athlete.
Yeah.
And being the population that we serve. Again, Sport Manitoba certainly serves officials, coaches, volunteers, administrators, family. But sport is about the athletes competing. So I hope that what perspective I can bring is having been there in all of those capacities, to be honest, but primarily as an athlete and as a female athlete, which does bring with it different challenges. I think while I'm the first woman to be the chair of that board, I don't know that means a whole lot more than being somebody who is just open to all types of populations who need to be represented at that board. There are many marginalized populations that need representation and to have someone speak for them at the board. So I'm not there bringing the woman's vote or the woman's or only the woman's perspective. But I do hope that I can encourage everybody on our board to bring everybody's perspective that we represent, because sport covers so many, and we have a duty to make sure that that's properly delivered to all people who want to, all people who want to participate. So it's a challenge for sure. But I think we do great work, and our board is a wonderful group of concerned individuals. And the leadership at Sport Manitoba, Janet McMahon, we make the woman's twosome, leading the charge of Sport Manitoba, a wonderful person from sport and doing a great job there. So it's a great board to be part of.
So why community activism? Sport Manitoba, and then you recently ran for school board in your in your ward, right?
Yeah.
So why give your time?
As an athlete in Canada, coaches donate their time. I don't know that I've had a paid coach as a amateur athlete. My time in the U.S. would have been different. Universities pay their coaches, but from a national team perspective, it was all donated. Officials donate their time. They may get I think weightlifting paid their officials $25 to work the day. I owe it to all of the communities that helped me succeed. I owe it to them to give back, whether it's sport, education. I've had a lot of education, more education than sport. So I really do owe it to the school community to give back. So I don't know why. I don't know how it started. I think it's my interest in just being involved. Yeah. And then it grows into something more because I'm a sucker and I can't say no. And I do like to lead. I'll be honest. I don't mind leading, steering the ship. So when others don't want to be the chair of the parent committee, sure, I'll do it. And then 6 years later, I'm still there. And so it's about giving back for me. And I also don't again, I referenced a bit of ADHD before. I am not good when I'm not busy. I don't. Outside of binge watching some TV from time to time, I don't sit well. So that's
interesting.
It just more. And then somebody goes, "Oh, you should run for school trustee," and I'm like, I have a bit of time. Sure, let's give that a whirl.
So you've mentioned a couple of times that you benefit from ADHD. When did you get diagnosed? Were you an adult?
Yes, recently, the last year.
Recently,
mild. You know what? I'm helping one of my children through some of these challenges as well, and she shed the light that what are symptoms of ADHD, and they're different for the female population than they are the male population. Didn't know that either. And I as I'm watching this information that she's sharing with me, I'm like, yes. So it made sense. I'm a wee bit of a squirrel, right? Email pops up. Oh my God, I have to read that. But I think when harnessed, that energy is useful.
Yep.
So
I would agree with you. I know quite a few women actually that in their mature years have been diagnosed with ADHD, which is some relief for them, right? I think. Yeah. But I think some relief too, because they're just like, okay, that fits together for me in my head, right?
And I do feel there was probably a stigma attached to that when we were younger.
Sure.
And
right,
it was ignored or you were hyper. My kid's hyper. I don't know that I was ever hyper, and that's not necessarily ADHD either. But
true.
I think that it's a different time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we used to call them the Ritalin kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because that was the drug that.
Then
that's what they gave everybody, but which was an interesting place to be when you're managing children on Ritalin for sure.
A lot of them.
Given your experiences in sport, law, and governance, how do you view the importance of mentorship, especially for young women or Aboriginal youth, Métis youth in sport or in legal professions?
I think mentorship is critical.
Yeah,
I think it's critical. Certainly in the legal profession, a lot of when you article, you're assigned a principal, and they are there to help you through your first year as an articling student. And I don't have an articling student, but we have 4 or 5. I think we have 5 here at the firm, and I'm working with at least 3 of them, again, I feel that I have a duty to help these kids. I'm old, but it doesn't feel like that long ago I went through that, and I still feel the anxiety and the need to please the people that you're working for, and how do you know things when you're that new, and if I can impart on them 7 tidbits of knowledge to make their life a wee bit more manageable, then that is at no expense to me. Why wouldn't I share that? So I do think mentorship is important. I enjoy it. I enjoy trying to help. Maybe I have caregiver syndrome as part of it too. And in sport, probably less so because I haven't been in it for quite some time, but there's certainly a coaching mentorship that is important. Again, I don't know how you would just know how to be a coach. It just doesn't work that way. It's exposure to good coaching. And I've had a lot of coaches, and I can tell you the good ones and the not so good ones. So I feel that I can, give some of that knowledge, even in passing, to folks that I meet with that are in sport. So,
and I think mentorship, I think about it for me, and I think about it for staff that I've had under, my watch and things. And I think part of it is helping them find their place and feel comfortable in that, right? Because like you said, there's lots of anxiety, like when you start a job or you're starting your career, like you're really just trying to find your place in whatever stream you've chosen, right? And I think mentors can quell some of that anxiety and just go, okay, help you focus. And you don't have to be perfect at everything, and we're going to learn piece by piece, and, kind of help you reestablish what the expectation is. Because probably not dissimilar to you, I would come in with, like, I'm expected to be perfect and the fastest and right. And so all those things. So important people in my life went, okay, hang on, we're going to rein you in just a smidge here, and super helpful to me, right, in the path of my career and life for sure. So, yeah, I think
we can have a lot of
vital.
Influence and positively, which is important. And I think so many kids don't quite know where to go or what to do or how to be themselves. And I think our role is to say, it's okay. You don't need to know today.
Yeah. So, right. Thank God. Or at 55, really.
Yeah, right. It's a whole new world.
It is a whole new world. So in 2019, you were inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. What was that like?
Oh, it was a moment of pride and a little bit sad at the same time. Both my parents were already gone, so I didn't get to celebrate that evening with them, but I did have lots of family and friends there. And, it's a moment to step back and appreciate what you accomplished, and, to see other folks so happy for you and proud of you, even though you may not know them. It was really a wonderful evening. And
nice.
just, I don't often feel special, and I don't need to feel special. Right. Although I realize once in a while feeling special is really nice, and it's a little bit of a boost of just making your
sunshine.
A little bit easier for the days to come. And I'm very proud. And I worked very hard. Yeah. And I'm happy that was acknowledged. So
yeah, I think it's great. I think for sure. Yeah. So you've navigated high performance pressure in sport that we talked about. Obviously, some high stakes legal things have probably come across your plate. How do you manage stress and kind of ensure that you have balance in your life with such demanding roles, right? Because they take up a lot of your time, which you like, but how do you make space for the other things?
Yeah, it's, everybody manages stress differently.
Yep.
I don't stress out very easily. As an athlete, I'm always setting a goal, or I have steps to get to the next spot. So there's always a plan. I'm a planner. So when times are stressful, I just plan. And I often will have like 42 pieces of Post-it notes that have different plans. And but the end goal is always to get through this part. I don't look too far into the future. It's much more in the now for the most part. And it's not compartmentalized, but it's broken up into areas of my life. My work has this plan and this stress. My personal life has this plan and this stress. Sport Manitoba has this one. So I break them up. So it's not one big thing that is overwhelming. And if I can break it up into these buckets, they're easier to manage and they're not overwhelming. So I'm a list maker. I like to tick the box. And, it's prioritizing. So much of what we do is prioritizing. And I am, like many, I will prioritize. And some of the ones they're not as much fun to deal with. So you tend to tick off some of the easier ones first, even though they weren't at the top. But I work a lot, and I'm okay with that because I like what I do. And I try to, I set up a reward system for myself. And
I do that too.
So that I'm happy when I get this, or I'm happy when I do that, I think that's the athlete in me, right? The reward is competition, maybe winning a medal, maybe setting a record, but you're building, peak, build some more, then go back down, start over again. So it's just a constant cycle. So I don't feel overly stressed, for the most part. At times work can be very busy. And that's when I really start to have to build my plan about what do I need to do today. And, I always have a Post-it note of the 3 things I want to get done tomorrow. Just 3. These are the 3 things I want to get done. I may get done more. I may not even get the 3. But when I come in the morning, that's my focus. These 3 things.
Yeah. I use a bullet journal. So I make bullet points and I have them. And if I don't finish them, then I move them to the next day. So I have a little coding system that I use, but it helps. I'm very goal-oriented as well and reward-based, and so I like to tick it off when I've done it, right?
That's my reward, right? Ticking the box.
That's my reward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any crazy competition stories, like crazy things that happened?
I have one, and I'll tell it to you quickly, and you may already know it because it happened quite some time ago, but in 2004, we were in Valleyfield, Quebec for the national championships. This would have been an Olympic qualifier and an important one. And I also felt that maybe I was in the sunset of my career. We got there a few days early. As a super heavyweight, I always lift on the last day. There's a few days early on that you're looking around Valleyfield, not a big town. We walked down, my training partner Charlotte and I walked down to the little strip mall. There's a Pet Value there. We go in the Pet Value, and there's an empty aquarium that has wood chips on it, and there's a Boston Terrier puppy. And is the cutest dog. And I'm living with my partner at the time. We were not married, and we had an old grumpy dog. He was 16, he was sore, he was cranky, but he was wonderful. So I called Richard and said, "Oh my God, there's the cutest puppy at the store here. Can I get it?" And he's like, "No, you can't get it. We got Sparky. He will not want a puppy in the house." And I was like, fine. So that was Friday. Saturday, we go back to the store. Still puppy there. Looks very sad. Wants a home very bad. "Richard, the puppy is still there. Are you sure I can't get it?" And he's like, "No, this does not make sense." And I'm like, "What if I clean and jerk 300 pounds? How about that?" And he's like, "Well, you're going to do that anyway." And I was like, dang, he believes in me. I can't even fault him for not wanting to enter a bet. And he's like, I was going to say, "I'll set a PR." He's like, no, a personal record. He's like, "You're going to do that anyway. We're not going to bet on that." And I'm like, okay, how about I clean and jerk 300 pounds, which would be a Canadian record and the first time a woman has done that in Canada. And he's like, "If you can successfully clean and jerk 300 pounds, you can have that dog." And you put a challenge in front of me, right? So the competition starts just quickly. I miss my first clean and jerk. This is unheard of. I never miss my first clean and jerk. It was, I don't know, maybe 275. It's 125 kilos. I miss it. And I'm like, this is an Olympic qualifier, first and foremost. Puppy, secondary at this point. So my coach comes up to me and says, "Whoa, what happened there?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just brain fart. I don't know." He goes, "Well, we'll have to repeat. Weightlifting. You get 3 attempts. That's it. You miss all 3, game over, competition's done, you lose. So miss the first one, I have 2 more. He goes, well, we'll have to repeat because you need to get the weight because you need a total to be considered for the Olympic qualification.
Okay.
So I go and I do 125 again. It's easy. I get her done. And he's like, for the 3rd lift, this is it. This is my last one. And now 300 pounds is not looking that good because I just did 275. And he's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I feel great. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So they I hear the loader, the announcer say, ladies and gentlemen, please, we're going to put 136.5 kilograms on the bar. And I'm like, that's 300 pounds. We're going to make this massive jump from 125 to 136.5 kilograms. And I'm like, this is my opportunity to get the dog. I go out there I am ultra motivated.
Yeah.
So I clean it, which I have never lifted that weight before in my life. I clean it and I'm standing there ready for the jerk. And I'm like, if I jerk this, I'm going to get the dog. Right? So I jerk it and I actually get it. They tell me to put it down because that's what they do. And it's a good lift. So I'm ecstatic. Sure. And I'm yelling to my training partner, Charlotte. I'm like, get my credit card. Go get the dog. It's going to close. So I brought a puppy home.
And a Canadian record.
And we called her Valley. And we called her Vallay.
Oh, and you called her Valley.
So that is my interesting competition story.
Very good. I love it. I love it. One last question, and then we'll get into the rapid fire. What advice would you give a young athlete or law student or somebody passionate about something, right? About navigating kind of, that path. Like, what was the one thing maybe that you wished you'd have known that would have just made it just a titch easier?
I would say ask for help. It's okay. Whether that's a mentor, somebody who can give you some guidance, who's been there, who learned some things that they wish they could give to someone else to make that step a bit easier. It really is about not doing it on your own, whether it's in sport, law, whatever your chosen passion is. But I guess maybe first and foremost is being passionate and wanting, make sure you love it. That is my first thing. If you don't love it, you are not going to be that good. Even if you are a great athlete, if you don't love that sport, you need to find something else. It's never too late. So I think it's making sure you love what you do, doing it with purpose, and don't be afraid to ask for help, whatever that may look like. So not one piece, 3 pieces.
Yeah, 3 pieces. It's a lovely answer. And I do believe, throughout my experience, I would tell you that very, very few people will say no when you ask them for help.
Yeah. I mean, especially...
I would say, 99% I'll go, you bet, I'll help you, right? Yeah. And that other 1% we don't need, but...
Probably didn't need their help, so... Their particular help.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. So now we always try and end with, we call it the rapid fire. It's adapted from James Lipton of the Actors Studio. It's just a few questions to have some fun if you're game.
Of course.
Yeah? All right. What is your favorite word?
Notwithstanding.
Like a true legal attorney, yeah. What is your least favorite word?
Irregardless.
Oh.
Not a word.
Not a word. Fair ball. What turns you on?
Ooh, chocolate.
What turns you off?
People who don't like animals.
With ya. What sound or noise do you love?
One of my kids walking in the front door.
Yeah, nice. What sound or noise do you hate?
The dog whining at 6 a.m. on a Saturday for his food.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oh, snap.
Snap?
Yeah.
Is that a curse word?
Well, in my house, I get criticized for anything harsher than snap.
Oh.
So, gotta keep it PG.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A coroner.
What profession would you not like to attempt?
Teacher.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you reach the pearly gates?
Your mom and dad are waiting for you.
Yeah. What does strong like a girl mean about you?
You know what? Girls are stronger. They need to be stronger to be as successful as the male gender. So own it. Take your gender and use it, and be strong in whatever way it is. It doesn't. Strength is not physical or mental or spiritual. It's everything or one of them. But it's what we have, and it is our strength. So let's use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It's been lovely to talk to you. I'm so happy we did this. Yay.
I am happy too. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored
you bet.
to share the time with you.
It's good. There's so many strong women out there. It's just been an absolute pleasure to speak with people, and I know people I know, and then I always learn something new about them, and it's just been, it's been a real pleasure. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Find out more about today's episode and our guest in the show notes or at stronglikeagirlpodcast.ca. You can leave a voice note at stronglikeagirlpodcast.ca to send your stories or reactions to what we talked about today. Or maybe you know a strong girl that you think we should interview. Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave us a review. And thank you very, very much for listening.